Thank you for tuning into episode 23 of the Total Relationship Podcast. If you have prospective clients coming to you and they have several different financial advisors or accounts at various firms, this episode is for you. We know that it is a common scenario, but we believe it's not ideal. As financial advisors, it's our responsibility to guide the clients towards strategies that protect and grow their wealth. But also, you also put yourself at a disadvantage when you don't know what the other advisor is working on. So how often do you actually emphasize the advantages of consolidating your clients' accounts under one roof? We're going to dig into that today and figure out how we can discuss the option for a win-win for both advisors and clients. So how do you get there? How does it actually happen? Some clients inherited accounts from a loved one who passed away. You get married and your spouse has another advisor. You start working with someone because they sold you something. Someone might have knocked on your door or in old school cold called you. It comes really easily for people to kind of get multiple advisors in their corner. So Tyson, I'm excited for you to dig into this. Can you bust the myth for advisors and clients out there that actually having different advisors and different accounts is actually a form of diversification?
Yeah, it's making my skin crawl because it's like so against everything that we've learned to do. First of all, it's to respect the fact to the client that like makes total sense. Like go back to the Great Depression here. They're thinking I'm going to have money in different banks so that way if a bank goes under, they'll lose all my money.
Yep.
And they don't realize because of how the portfolio or the custodians have securities, and those securities would have to go under. And then if that happened across all custodians, it would matter that by having one, it's telling the client early on, if you are looking at me as a basket, you don't understand what I do.
What does that mean?
It means that my job is to make sure their eggs are in different baskets. My job is to make sure that they have different diversification. And diversification isn't how many advisors you have or how many custodians you have, because that creates all kinds of conflicts. And often you're paying more in fees because the more you have in one place, there's cost efficiencies there.
Yes, there is.
And the mistake advisors make is they try and compete for a piece instead of talking about earning the right to be able to understand the whole. And it's a lot more important when clients get into retirement than it is in the accumulation phase, because the accumulation phase, some clients can't move things. But the accumulation phase is a lot easier. Save more than you spend, allocate it appropriately, and then don't panic. And some people can do that without an advisor. But when you go to live off this stuff,
yeah,
and you have one major purchase, okay, where's the money going to come from? Or maybe it should come from several different places. Well, if those several different places are all at different custodians with different advisors, they're all going to be like, here, take it from the other guy. Go take it from mine.
Yeah, well, that's how they're compensated. Why would they want to advise taking money out of the account?
Yeah. And early on, I would simply, our value add is, listen, we want to earn the right to basically be the pilot of the entire portfolio. I used that analogy before. And I don't want to be one of the advisors in the back that gets a piece of the puzzle, because that's not where we can add the most value. And we want to earn the right to get there. So if you're hearing this and that's not where you're at, reintroduce your clients. I remember, it's like, how did I get here? How I got here? Because when I started and I was apprenticing under the senior advisor, that senior advisor had the equity portfolio or the stock portfolio, right? And they'd have their mutual fund portfolio somewhere else, and they'd have their CD portfolio or their bond portfolio somewhere else, and their 401k here and their IRA, there's stuff everywhere. And I would meet with the client and just simply state, I want to earn the right to be able to see everything, to understand how it all works together for you to accomplish what you want to do. And I'm also of the opinion that you haven't picked the advisor or an individual to be able to understand how that all works together. And the reason I want to do that is a couple things. One is I want to be able to see across everything that you have, are you concentrated? Because a client could have accounts in several different custodians with several different advisors, but if all those advisors are doing the exact same thing, they may actually be more under-diversified because they're concentrated in this area or this trend of the market That definitely happened early in my career in the tech bubble, that they thought they were diversified, but if they all owned the same stuff, they weren't diversified.
Yeah.
Uh, and then what you can do is basically what we're agreeing to, Mr. and Mrs. Klein, is that if we're going to work together, we're going to see everything you have. And if it's not all going to be here, then when I ask for statements, you're going to provide them. If you don't provide me with those statements, then that tells me I haven't earned the right to be that advisor. And so my suggestion is move my account to wherever you want to pick the person to be your sole advisor. But I believe so much in this, I would rather lose your business to the person that you trust to do this than keep a piece of the puzzle and add to the problem.
Yeah. So some clients might consult an advisor about their investments, another one about insurance, and another advisor about retirement planning. And so, because some clients might not understand that you can have an advisor that could actually advise them on all three of those different categories and thinking they have to go to different companies. And so I think part of that is just helping the client understand what you can provide them as an advisor. Not everybody is a CFP who's got an extra certification, lots of planning and time dedicated to financial planning, so you might not be able to hit that as hard, but you need to be able to advocate for what you can do for the client because they might not even know, which is why they're considering going to three different people. And it can create a lot of potential issues for the client if they're trying to get planning from multiple sources.
And so again, the way we diffuse that or to help the client understand, especially on the insurance side of things, is because our compensation is a fee of the assets that we manage, we're not compensated, or I'm not an insurance salesman. The only way I can feed my family is to make sure you're paying a bunch of premiums of policies you may not even need anymore. It's positioning yourself to basically be an advocate for the client for everything that they have, and then simplify down for them, that they can have one person to go to help solve these problems. Going back to asking for the statements, what I found, again, if you're listening to this and you don't have, you only have a piece of a portfolio or of the wealth a client has, by positioning yourself to seek to be hired as a sole financial advisor or as a condition of working with the client with what you have going forward. Most clients, because no one's raising their hand making this demand, are like, yeah, sure, I'd love someone to see how all that works together or doesn't work together, or what I need to do with it, or is there better tax savings or lower cost or whatever. But by asking for the statements, what I found was over a short period of time, 2 or 3 years, if you ask for the statements on the quarterly basis, back when I started this, eventually the client's like, can I just move this to you? Because they were so sick of bringing me the statements.
Well, that is one way to do it.
And then the other point is like, okay, if you've learned stuff, if this isn't what if you don't want to keep doing what you're doing, which is to basically have to continue to keep selling the client on your value add as the way to gain more market share, stop taking on new clients that are only willing to give you a piece. So that way, going forward, you're basically having the opportunity, or you're positioning yourself as the expert that you should be, to be able to help the client with everything they have. And by doing so, collect all of their investable assets so you can oversee, make sure things are diversified, make sure risk is appropriated across different accounts and account types, make sure you can understand and help advise the client on how to be more tax, what's more beneficial from a tax standpoint, either for accumulating the wealth or taking the wealth out. Um, Helping the client realize they now have one place to call that someone else can see everything that they have, which often is a lot more important to the surviving spouse or to the spouse that isn't doing the work. I am the solution that if you dropped dead with these things in 10 different places, your surviving spouse is going to have a hard time wrapping their arms around the chaos and all the paperwork that's
Mess.
required.
Mhm.
Um, and it just, again, because it's not a sale, it's a solution, because it's not here. I'm performing better. I'm good. I have, no one has this other little secret market they get to play in.
Yeah. We're all in the same soup.
Yeah. But it's here. Can we simplify this down, make it easier to understand, and have someone come alongside you for the rest of your life to help you understand and take advantage of what you have, is all the reasons behind it.
Yeah. Because really, you're making the case for consolidation out of the interest of simplifying your client's life and actually providing a service to them that you want in the first place. Because you're not wanting to be providing conflicting information to them. You don't want to be making decisions on a portion of their assets because at the end of the day, you don't actually know if that is in the client's best interest because you can't consider their entire financial picture.
Yeah, and it's crazy is these financial industries have come up with all this technology to basically let aggregation happen where clients can plug in all their portfolios so you can see everything in one spot. It's not in one spot. But I'm of the belief, and another value add is by having things in one place with us and having it in one custodian with us, again, because the custodian isn't a diversification, uh, that it's more secure.
Mm-hmm.
The more I'm of the belief, the more custodians you have, the more advisors you have, the more logins you have, the more opportunities you have that someone can steal that password or someone can hack that account. And maybe, again, our job is to oversee everything the clients have. By doing so, we have a greater likelihood of seeing or capturing, or when a client has an identity theft issue, we have the ability to go lock down or protect some of the accounts or put in extra restrictions or protections for the client.
Yep.
That if you multiply how many advisors you have, you just multiplied how many places that you have to go and try and do that or worry about that.
Yeah. And so honestly, Tyson, what I'm hearing you say is there's 3 benefits that make it easier for advisors to kind of implement this in their practice. And when they're trying to when they try to talk to their clients about consolidating their accounts, it's presenting a unified strategy that considers their entire financial picture. The cost effectiveness of consolidating services can potentially reduce fees and administrative costs, and it'll simplify the decision making. And you don't have to worry about conflicting advice, and then they can rely on one team to handle everything. So, Tyson, which of those 3 really kind of hits home for potential clients you've talked to? A unified strategy, a cost savings, or a simplification?
I would add a fourth. I think the fourth is that allows us to manage the portfolios better, especially in the client's retirement, because in the client's retirement, their retirement needs may be, especially from a tax standpoint, to take so much from a qualified account, maybe so much from a Roth account, so much from a non-qualified account. We might take dividends over here. And to the extent if those accounts are spread across different firms, they have to go communicate to all these different advisors what the plan is. Or worse, there's no advisor to help them figure out what that plan is.
I was like, that puts the client in the driver's seat that advisors, that's what you're there to do. You're supposed to be in the driver's seat to advocate for your client and get them where they need to go. That's what you're supposed to do.
Yes, it's applying for a job that, again, the client wants and most advisors don't realize because it's counterintuitive, right? It seems like, well, yeah, that's best for Tyson or that's best for Tyson's firm to have everything in one spot. And actually what I would tell you is that it's actually better for the client
Mhm.
for the reasons you stated. And I think the clients find value in all of those, not any one of those, which again makes them realize why I want to earn the right to be your last and only sole financial advisor to walk with you through the rest of your life to help you accomplish what you want to accomplish with what you have with those that you love. And it's not having it in 5 different places with 5 different advisors. And the worst thing for a client is when you have different advisors in different places and you're one of those advisors and you're allowing that to happen. The easiest way clients can judge it, which also can be the most detrimental, is they'll judge it based on performance. And so if one of those accounts is dramatically outperforming a diversified stewarded portfolio with all the principles that one should be applying, the only way that can happen is that portfolio, that advisor is taking more risk. And that's great when it works. It's really detrimental when it doesn't. And the worst thing that happen to clients is clients, because if they don't know any better, that's the one that's performing better. They may move accounts to the one that's performing better until it doesn't. In the tech bubble that burst, in the financial crisis that burst, in COVID, or in most recently, some of the trends that happen, the more you consolidate and chase performance, the more danger you're putting on yourself. And part of collecting all the portfolios is to protect the client from all these outside influences that may want to try and performance chase their portfolio away from them, that ends up being detrimental versus protecting them from chasing performance and the fear of missing out, and helping them realize why they don't need to be tuning into what the current trend is or what they're talking on TV about or what the friend is talking about this great advisor that they currently have, but they don't talk about the 10 other advisors they have that were horrible. I believe a safer, more cost-effective. It is definitely more trusting and a bigger relationship that you get to have with a client when you've earned the right to be able to see everything and help them speak into and understand why it's best for them to let one advisor be the person that can walk alongside them, just like they have one accountant and just like they have one attorney. And if it's not you, then encourage that. That's the belief that we communicate to the client is we believe so much in this. We will not take on your portfolio if you're not willing to share with us everything you have. It's part of our process and part of fit. And if you're not willing to share everything you have, then we're not the right person for you. And we encourage them to go find someone that they trust enough to do that. And that's also changed a lot of clients' paradigms. So it's like, wow, like, okay, yeah, no, I want to work with you. Okay, well, here's how we work with you.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think, Tyson, that gets back to the root of really identifying for your practice how you want to take care of your clients. You have the opportunity in the driver's seat as an advisor, whether you own the practice or not, to figure out how you want to take care of your clients. And I think you are not providing the client something to object to when you're saying, if you bring everything here, it can consolidate the services and fees and administrative costs. That's something that they can't really object to, is because it's a reduced fee, even though you could be making more depending on what they can bring over. But when you give the client the opportunity to say, if it's not us, we want you to go be with someone that you want to have that kind of trust in, because we feel having a unified strategy and consolidating your accounts to one advisor is in your best interest. Like, a client's not going to object, or I've not heard any yet object to you advocating for their best interest. I haven't heard it yet. And when people are given the permission, I feel like clients might even come in a little bit on the defense about that. But when you say that to them, it really helps take those walls down and really helps them hear you say that I'm thinking of you. And if you do not want that here, my hope is that you find it somewhere else. And I want you to have that. What client's going to be upset about that approach?
The conviction and the decision needs to come from the advisor and set the terms. I am thinking of, because I had a surgery recently, and part of the process of the surgery before I had the surgery was I had to get on a scale, which had probably nothing to do with my surgery, but they were going to take, it's part of the process. It's like, I don't know if I'd have said no, like, would I not be able to have, the surgery? And so it's same with, as an advisor, you have to sit down and predetermine what is your value add and what are you trying to accomplish. And what I would tell you is your job's a lot harder when you're working with a piece of the puzzle of the client that you're trying to add the value to of everything that they have, but you only have a piece. And then every meeting somewhere in the back of your head, you're trying to sell or position or convince the client because of how you're focusing on the portfolio, they should be adding to the portfolio. And what we're trying to tell you is get that whole mindset out of your head and position yourself as the expert that most understands what that client's trying to do with everything that they have. And you can have the then right to work with everything that they have.
Yeah. Well, Tyson, is there anything else you want to leave our listeners with? That felt like a good ending, but I don't want to cut you off.
It takes more time on the front end, but it gives you so much more freedom on the back end because you're not continually having to sell and resell the client on your value add and the service you're trying to provide. Because once you've earned the right to have everything that they have, because you focused on them, and you continue to focus on them, it allows you to do your job a lot easier and saves you time over time than trying to continually convince or try and prove to the client why you've earned the right through a portfolio, why they should be adding to your portfolio.
Good point. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in to episode 23 of the Total Relationship Podcast. I'm really excited. I can't wait to introduce to you a special guest on our season's finale episode. Stay tuned. I'm Kim Kokenauer, joined today by my co-host, Tyson Ray, author of The Total Relationship and CEO of Form Wealth Advisors. Until next time.